1, 2, 3, 4. I told you so. I told you. I told you so. I told you. Remember when I told you about 9/11? Remember when I told you about Building 7? Remember when I told you about the fluoride in the water? Yes, I did. Remember when I told you about the New World Order? Remember that? Remember when I told you about the chemtrails in the sky? Remember when I told you that NASA was full of lies? Remember when I told you about the ultra mind control? Well, I just want to say that I told you so, yeah. Remember when I told you about 432 hertz, that is, and what 440 can do to you? It hurts my ears. Remember when I told you about the vaccine agenda? Yes, I did. And that Michelle Obama is a transgender. Yes, he is. The dinosaur fraud, the climate change scam, and yes, Sandra Bullock is also a man. Remember when I told you that there ain't no globe? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the TV flicker rate? And how it puts your brain in an alpha state? Remember when I told you about germ theory? Remember when I told you about gravity? Remember that? Remember when I told you about Paul McCartney? Remember when I told you about direct energy? Remember when I told you about Monsanto? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the mainstream media? Your so-called celebrities and pedophilia. Remember that child trafficking and that adrenochrome. Remember when I told you about the Georgia Guidestones? Remember when I told you about the false flag operation? Remember when I told you about 5G radiation? Remember that I told you that? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. But you didn't listen. I told you so. I told you so.
We will be back in some form.
We have an army
of digital soldiers, because this was an insurgency.
Hundreds dead, thousands infected across multiple continents.
You guys know what this represents? Well,
all the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, you are.
Hello. Welcome to On Tap with PPN. Matt has got some stuff going on tonight. So tonight we'll have Oathkeeper Bill and Edward Torres here with us. Both of them are my co-hosts on Friday nights on what I call the Big Show. That's Friday nights at 8 o'clock Central. Tonight we're going to go over some information that is kind of up to date, and my whole goal with everything that I've been doing is kind of like my father did with me, and I've said that a few times. And at 15, telling me what I need to know at 16 when I start driving, and when I'm kind of on my own out there doing things, and when I'm 16, telling me what I need to know at 18, and at 18, tell me what I need to know at 21, and so on and so forth, and still doing it. I want people to see what's coming down the pike, see what's headed your way so that you can kind of brace for it. And I think I've said this a few times. I would much rather know what's coming, what's going to go on, what kind of craziness is happening, what to expect, than for it just to spring on me and me say, oh, Lord, that came out of left field. And I don't think there's any hiding or I mean, there's just no doubt that there's certain people that play a large role in the things that I say. And over the years, I've been grading myself on the things I say, and are they working out? And can I see this? Can I visibly see these things happening? Does it make sense? And that's what I'm doing with everyone. That is exactly what I'm doing on an everyday basis. And because when you come into fifth generation warfare and psychological warfare, which is what we're dealing with, which is nothing new, every conflict, has a type of psychological warfare. It's just, can you handle it? Can you see through it? And who influences you? Who's getting the right information? Who is involved? Who's out there working? And the coalition that we are involved with here at On Tap, that's some workers right there. Oh my goodness. I can't say enough wonderful things about the people that I get to listen to on Fridays during our coalition calls. And it's amazing to watch normal citizens going through, since I've never ran for office, I'm up there, under the impression that these are all people that have been in this for a long time. Now, some may have, some may have been in politics, or their family be in politics. So, they're able to talk the jive and understand what's going on. Just like in my family, we talk about floors, at the kitchen table, because I was watching my father schedule everything and talk to the guys and talk to customers and things. Well, they were doing the same thing with their families who might have been in politics. But then you've got some that are just good citizens and patriots that are doing their best to get information out there, just like what we're doing. Get information out there and be elected, because they have said, I'm not taking the nasty money from these NGOs and the other countries and rhinos and the Uniparty. They're not going to join into that stuff. And I just applaud you. If any of you are watching, I applaud what you're doing. And I want everyone else to know how hard you are working. And daily, all day. That's your job. I'm assuming in most cases. And I got to meet a bunch there in Vegas at Bondgate, and it was a pleasure to, because just like we are on Patriot Shoot or in Talk Time or any of these other places, it's like, man, who am I talking to? I feel like I know them. I know that they've got how many kids they've got in some cases. I know, what they've done. There's some things about them in the past, and that they've had good days and bad days, just like everybody. So just know that these people out here that we are urging you to support, get involved with, make phone calls for, anything, get in touch with them, investigate who is in your area that would or have your same thoughts, that are about the Constitution and about doing what's right, and still have morals out there doing the right things. So the biggest thing that I always want to do is say, I just, I almost want to beg people, just understand who these people are, what they're doing, and that they're fighting for us, just like some of your sheriffs might be doing, just like some of the police, some of the so many that have a bad name are not in that group that are doing bad things. It might look like it, but to have that job, they might have to keep their mouth shut until a certain time when it's time to pounce. And they're getting ready for it. I guarantee you, behind the scenes, ready to rock and roll. With that being said, I'm going to bring in Oathkeeper Bill and get this conversation started. What's up, my brother?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Did any of that resonate with you, especially?
Oh, yeah.
Bill, I have I like to compliment you on the things you've done with getting in touch with people in your local area. I don't know anyone that has done more work behind the scenes with getting in touch with your sheriff, who we all admire the things we've heard from you about him, and your legislators and things, and they're listening to you now.
Yes.
And last night in Talk Time, we were talking about, Jay was in there saying, man, I met a guy that really knew what he was talking about. And Jay only knew that the guy really knew what he was talking about because Jay understands what's going on. So that's two big feats right there, and two people, kind of coming together in this big universe, that have the same, are like-minded. It's neat. And that has happened to you some, where, we've all been learning information, and I call it kind of getting everybody the ammunition they need for when that sale happens, for when
Absolutely.
that time is that you get to introduce someone and maybe duplicate yourself.
And that's the thing, to duplicate yourself, right? And to be honest with you, having a conversation is where it starts. And it doesn't have to be dumping everything due to your research, all at one time. Just like what Boone Cutler taught me this a couple years ago now. The length of time it takes to have a cup of coffee, it is about the length of time to have that initial conversation with somebody, And I've had a lot of coffee talk.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was this one legislator that's in our county. I don't want to say he's a prior Marine, especially Marines. You just say he's a Marine, and it doesn't matter he or she when they got out. They're still a Marine. They're not a prior Marine.
Okay.
They'll take that to their deathbed.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to
is what you're talking about.
Reiterate that, especially with Marines. I can say, well, prior Air Force, but when it comes to a Marine, you're still a Marine. I don't care if you're 30, 60, 90 years old on your deathbed, you're still a Marine. That's that mentality of those soldiers, the warriors of the Marine themselves. So I wanted to call that out because of how important that is.
Yeah.
So anyway, my sheriff is a Marine, and
Okay.
he is really brought forward so much with wanting to teach people the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, get to the foundation, and then it's easier to identify what is not constitutional.
Right.
Because how are you to know your constitutional rights are being infringed if you have no clue what the constitutional authorities you have are? There's just no way. But anyway, this one legislator I spoke to last summer in respect to my research and our research, and he invited me to his home, and we had a good almost 2 hours conversation. When I left, he didn't have a "I don't believe you" look or anything like that, but it was a lot that I brought forward to
Right.
him, you know,
Yeah.
and
I know. I
and
know that look.
right, you know, and when I got in my truck and I'm driving away, I'm like, well, Lord, let's see how this plays out. I
Yeah.
said, I know, I used authenticity. I used everything that I know to be true. I let the gentleman know I am here to help you succeed, and I want you to succeed, things of that nature. Well, he texted me this morning. I texted him Tuesday saying, "Are you now starting to see what I'm talking about in respect to the task forces coming forward?" And his response today, he gave me a couple days. His response today was, "I was going to let you know how right you were with everything." And this is not an ego thing, like I'm right about everything.
Yeah.
But I took it as, wow, he's been studying, he's been doing his own research in order for him to feel comfortable texting me that. It wasn't uh, well, we shall see, or it wasn't a negative text. It was very respectful to me. So a lot of the people that we put in office, what whatever that office is, sheriff, legislator, whatever it is, just because my job was to vote that person in, once they're in, that's when your job starts again. You have to be there for those people. You cannot expect that person that you helped to get into office just take care of everything. And that is something I had to do a moral inventory myself to say, you know what, Billy? Shame on me for not participating more in the past. Well, I no longer look at that, and I look at what can I do today. So I'll shoot emails, I'll shoot whatever, text messages, letting people know, hey, listen, I'm here for you. Board members, superintendents, sheriffs, whoever. Hey, I'm here for you. And something you said before I came out, there's a lot of people that know what's going on. They know there is something that's just not that something's just not right, but they know that there are people moving in the right areas, especially restoring our republic the way that it should always have been, and we always thought it was. Also, the election integrities, the school bonds, the non-government organizations, all of the fraud. And this is not just a Democrat Republican situation. This is America. What happened to America? Our education system. The educational system was the first situation that we got into, unbeknownst to us, that affected generation after generation after generation of our children and of us, which in essence, in time, weakened America from within. Well, that no longer is a problem. We have woken to that, and it will not be part of America ever again. Which I'm so grateful for the other patriots, the clandestine operators who have, since I feel Abraham Lincoln time frame, General Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy time frame, Ronald Reagan, now President Trump time frame, these individuals that throughout the many, many years behind the scenes have saved our lives, not to mention restored our republic. And what a blessing, what a pleasure to be here tonight on tap. Wow, this is very cool. And
I appreciate you coming. And and I got the call that Matt was going to be in a meeting an hour and a half before, and of course Mandy gets the same messages that I get, and I was out cutting shrubs and cutting up some wood and stuff, and I got that, and I said, okay. So, wow, with mentioning Mandy's name, you've always got to look and say, wow, there's a lot being done behind the scenes from Mandy and all the great mods that we have. I don't know that you could ever give them enough credit for what they do. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, because when we're in this psychological warfare, having people that are sound-minded and open to listening to what opinions are, and out there grading people and being on the right track and keeping people level-headed at a chill pace, and working in talk time and in Patriot Shooter on the big show and the chats. And it's just, wow. I could never say enough, but from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you so much. I guess this is thank you day for the coalition and for mods. Now I'm gonna keep it at that, because that's some special stuff right there.
Yeah, and with the Talk Time platform, we have our ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. We had a young lady the other day say, "That's it. I'm leaving Virginia. These people, they're redistricting, they're, and all of this." And I don't blame her for feeling that way, right? The stress and everything. The only thing I can reassure her is it's unconstitutional of what occurred in Virginia. But these demons, these evil entities that have ingrained themselves into the United States of America, this was one of their Hail Marys for Virginia.
Yeah.
That was a Hail Mary for Virginia, which will fail. But
they had to do it.
They had to do it. They have no choice anymore. And they used exactly what they've always used, and they knew that, well, nobody else got caught. Nobody else has been held accountable. The judges will just appeal it, so it's no problem. Well, they're going to find that the task forces that are now not just coming forward, they are ingrained already into every, especially Democratic state where these ailments have occurred. They're already there, rocking and rolling. So within, I think Juan said on Nino, he says within weeks to a month, you're going to hear of a huge difference in respect to that trying to redistrict Virginia. And you're going to see a huge constitutional win for America in that situation, especially Virginia. Amen. So just hold the line. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I want to bring in Edward. Edward has come in backstage, and I want to bring this man in. I don't know that everyone has met Edward on the On Tap. I don't know if he's been on the On Tap show, but he's with us on Fridays. Hey, Edward, how are you?
Hola, muchachos. How we doing?
Great. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Since this is your first time with on the On Tap show, maybe you can tell some people about you and your military background, and maybe some things you have done and how you kind of got into this.
Cool. I joined the military back in 1975. Did some Army time and then went into the Air National Guard until what, 2008. I retired as a senior master sergeant, E8. Did my share of deployments. I retired as the operations superintendent for my unit. Then, since I was a reservist, I joined U.S. Customs, where it used to be U.S. Customs under the Department of Treasury. And then in 2003, that's when the Bush administration decided to combine, make the Department of Homeland Security, put all of those into one. And they took us away from the Department of Treasury. And within us, they combined immigration and customs together. So
Gotcha.
any of the officers that you see out there now working at the border, at the ports of entry, let me make that clear, at the ports of entry and at the airports and seaports can do both, can do immigration and customs enforcement. So I retired in 2017 after 24 years of working with them, working and I retired as a supervisor for CBP.
Great.
That's
Well,
me.
we're always glad to have you. And it was neat when which you're in there in talk time as much as I am, but it helped me a lot listening to you because you've always had great information when it comes to Mexico, when it comes to the cartel, when it comes to Cuba, when it comes to that area, especially, among a lot of other things. But also listening to your lingo, because whenever I came on with Matt was very good with me because he'd be talking to another person in the military. I've never been in the military, although my whole family was and has been forever. But I didn't know the lingo, so I'd write down, while he's talking. Okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? And it's all about those, And he was very good to me. He always answered quickly and didn't look at me like I was crazy. He might have joked with me or something one time or said a LOL or something. But, I was like, what were you talking about? And what were y'all talking about? It was kind of neat. It's kind of neat. So that has prepared me. Everything that I've been doing has been preparing me for, I guess, whatever is to come. I don't know. But last night when I got off the show last night with Chaz, I got a text. Me and Mandy got a text, and it was about the Virginia redistricting thing, and one thing that everyone here that watches and keeps up with Mark Cook, one thing you can do is be proud of the time and the effort and the knowledge that he has now, as in my opinion, being the number one go-to person maybe in the United States as far as understanding what's going on with the elections, how in different counties cheating could have happened, because let's say there's 15 different ways to cheat in every county. They're kind of the same, but this county over here uses 4 of those methods, and the county next to them uses 3 different ones, and the county next to them uses 4 different ones or 5 different ones. And it goes and it just continues on using those things, but now it's adding to it. And he has kind of sniffed that out. Well, there has been there was some talk last night about Trump needed to know some things. And then another person that I won't say their name because they're going to have a really special role in some things that are going on. But if you remember Peter Tickton, one time he came on and said, I'm getting shadow banded by, or I'm reaching out to this person and he's not getting back to me. And then somebody else was saying the same thing. And me and Matt were talking about it. Mm-hmm. Weren't saying his name. Well, that person has now, there's some people that are getting in touch with Mark, to give them the lowdown on what's going on as far as Virginia, in my opinion. So we knew that they were going to cheat. They had to. There's no way they can win without it. It's just that now, since they did, they used a process that they know, that Mark knows, understands, Matt does too, Juan, all them. They know everything. I get answers after. I don't have it all down like they do. But what it amounts to is now Mark can say, this is the method they used. It's irrefutable, no question about it. And you're going to hear things like that from people that we've already had on, because Mitch Vexler is going to be very involved in taking down the cabal. Chief Sean Taylor is going to be very involved. So if you are up to date on the people that we've had on this show, you're in there. You know the people that are now talking to the legislators, talking to the ones that are able to put an indictment out. You understand those. And if you don't, that gives you, if you want to know, hey, I need to go back to that show with those two people and some others and kind of refresh if you want to know it. If not, you just let it come and I'll tell you about it.
Yeah, it's the last thing now with what happened in Virginia, that the judge threw it out saying that it was unconstitutional. All the ways that they have found out through our guys, the cheating and stuff. Now it's out there. Now it's really out there. The exposure has come out. Let's tell, okay, now the people, well, if this happened here, could it have happened over here?
Yeah.
In my state? So there you go. It's everybody is going to find out. And this was, I mean, they probably tried, let's see if we could get away with it, but they didn't, by both sides. By the law that said it's unconstitutional, and now by the rigging of the voting, it's coming out. And, like some people are saying, nothing ever happens. Nothing is happening. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Bro?
Yeah, it's amazing. John Solomon come forward about Ukraine within the 2016 election fraud, utilizing taxpayer money to assist in the 2016 election fraud. And Tulsi Gabbard's really coming forward now with the Obama Russia hoax, and also information in respect to what Russia had for information during the Obama presidency about Hillary Clinton's mental status, and that they were going to use it against Hillary if they had to, but they kept that information because they wanted her to become president of the United States of America. So there's so much in the upper echelons as well. And with the task force that President Trump created through Vice President Vance, and also having that one, he's not an attorney general, but he's a prosecuting attorney who only speaks to President Trump, only speaks to Vice President Vance. So they don't go through the traditional Department of Justice, what you call it, trail or whatever. That's huge. And I'm starting to see things in my state. We have a one of those type fraud task forces starting in Albany, and then a couple of days later you hear Governor Hochul, I think we might have an insurance fraud situation going on. Yeah, you think so? So what I'd like to reassure to people is, whenever folks like ourselves or myself, I'll speak for myself, when I bring things to the attention of, wow, this is incorrect, this is wrong, this should never have happened. I also try to bring in what is the solution. And we are going back to, well, I feel we are back, but to our actual, the restoration of our republic.
Yeah.
And part of the restoration of our republic is going back to the Christian values. So this week in particular, with President Trump coming forward, and I believe we read Second Chronicles 7 through 22. That was huge. That's the President of the United States reading the Bible. I mean, that's humongous, and not to mention the other congressmen, congress ladies doing the same thing. And I believe that was to help identify the actual foundation of what our country is about, that Christian values, prior to building the restored republic on top of it. And I feel that that's what's coming next. So I'm excited.
We've got a bunch of really big information that's going to come to a lot of people now. We know we feel like we know a lot of it. We're doing good on keeping up and things like this, but maybe it's time to let everybody know that if anybody thinks that things have been rough so far, then I would urge them to please do whatever you've got to do to get your mind, body, and soul ready for what's coming, because it ain't even started. It ain't even started yet. All right. I mean, if you are seeing people having a hard time now, watch them. Everybody, if you know someone that has had issues with heart problems, with has talked about suicide things, I would reach out to them, know maybe what they should do for those things, because I'm telling you, it's coming. It is coming, because pretty soon we're going to get, okay. What's, in my opinion, where we're at is we've always thought about Gitmo and what's going to happen with Gitmo. We've always thought about how long is this exposure going to be? Well, the exposure has been for us so far. The people that are probably watching shows like this and getting numbers our way, and us duplicating each other and saying, hey, let's get involved. Let's go back. Let's start over. Let's get together with what we need to do. That is, get involved with our children, the Lord, duplicate ourselves, those things, and plead with people. Please, this is what it's going to take. Maybe not to make everything turn around, but for the future and for our children not to have to go through this, because this is going to go on for a long time. But there's going to be a time here around the 4th of July that we're going to have a type of World's Fair type scenario. And the day after is when a great Jubilee starts. There's good things coming, but that still is not even into the craziness that is coming. Midterms are going to be absolutely crazy. And that's when, between now and let's say the 4th of July, we could have that first arrest. Yeah, we could have it. I'm not going to say that's what's going to happen, but possibly. People are thinking, is it going to be Brennan? Is it going to be the London boys? Is it going to be, it's not going to be Hillary. Is it going to be Obama? Some narratives are coming out, but really and truly, there might be a few. And then I don't know, I'm not positive, but my thoughts is that boom, the 6th of July. And right after that, here it comes, hammer down, because they're going to be exposing everything, not to just us. We've still got time to learn, get our information together for when that time comes out, that they say, all right, drop the hammer. And they are going to put every terrible thing that these people have done to us, to our families, to our land, to our air, to our financial system, to our banking to everything. They're going to put it right out on TV. So is that going to be us three and other podcasters that have the responsibility, or is mainstream media going to start having an attitude adjustment by then? I don't know, but it's something to really think about. What is my job in this scenario? Another thing, I would say that, you've got Tucker, you've got some people that are going against the grain, all right, causing a problem. Now, that makes me look back to Elon. And the second that Elon started doing what he did, I told everybody and talked to him. I said, hey, this has got to be part of the plan. Don't worry about it. He's going to be back. Everything's good. They're getting things together. Elon's got some things he's got to do, and he'll be back. And whether that's what happened or not, I don't know. The ultimate, what happened is kind of that. But I don't know. I didn't have the inside information. I just said, hey, something's wrong with it. Something's crazy. That went a little too far. Is that the same that's going on with Tucker and with Alex Jones and things like that? I guess everybody gets to choose for themselves. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that, in my opinion, are going to be held accountable for not knowing what the heck they're talking about. All right. There's going to be a lot accountable for taking money to give put the narrative out there for the cabal. And then there's going to be ones that just don't know, just don't understand, and I there's a lot of them, in my opinion. Just like right now, they are vetting the powers that may be, the powers that be are vetting people that will be at Gitmo doing the corresponding and being there, like Matt's going to do, so because Matt will be reporting from Gitmo here on 6 o'clock every day. So that's what this was all about, So anyways, a lot of big things going, but everybody that's watching, please hang on and get yourself right with the Lord and learn about frequency and calming yourself down and having a hobby that maybe takes your mind off some things.
Yeah, it's important. And if I can add, even in our own homes or neighborhoods or communities, or whether it's podcasts or the federal level, right? The different levels, if you will, there are people that think one way and there's other people that think another way. And one thing that I have noticed is those that are just exhausted with President Trump or what's going on are usually those that listen to content, the 15-second or the 3-minute or 5-minute little videos that come out sometimes are orchestrated by the bad people to cause diversity. If you look or watch something and you get an emotional response to it, good or bad, does not mean that was information that was given to you. That was created to instill an emotional response. What doesn't create an emotional, it might excite you or piss you off or whatever, but is actual information. Like the Clarity Act, for instance, or the Genius Act, or the Big Beautiful Bill. Those are constitutionally written. One is not in the law yet via Senate and, President Trump, which would be the Clarity, which I feel is coming soon. But my point is, it is constitutional. It is done properly. It's done through the proper channels. It's not this is not my opinion. I'm not going to read this to my family, friends, neighbors, or acquaintances as my opinion. I am reading what people have worked decades for. This isn't just something in 13 months of the Trump administration. This was done within decades to get us to the level of our restoration of our republic, which is also going to be restoring us to, I call it God's money, but actual authentic gold and silver backed money the way that we should have always been. So my point is, don't look at content as much, because that'll just give you an emotional response. Go to information. And what sucks about information is it takes a long time to read it or comprehend it. But if people are communicating about actual information, perhaps stick with them. They're doing you a justice by taking the time to explain those things to you, versus a 3-minute video on, is this his real hair? Is this his real thumb? I think this is a fake thumb from 1972, and this one right here is from a dog that came from an alien that's fixing to land tomorrow behind the White House. You see, I mean,
That's good.
You know, and I'm not trying to poke fun at folks, even though I like doing that. But my point is, authenticity is what's going to win this war. And I love you guys. And God bless you guys. I'll probably head out here in a minute, let you two gentlemen finish up. And I love you guys.
Wow, time's went by kind of quick. What do you think about that, Edward? Hey, Bill, thanks so much for joining, and hang around, whatever you want to do. Ain't no telling how long we'll go.
I agree. There's things that are happening. I was listening to a conversation or interview that had Colonel Schaefer, and they were talking about General Hoyt and stuff, saying that there's going to be quite a big another shakeup of generals and flag officers, meaning admirals in the Pentagon, because they're saying they have too many.
Yeah.
That need to go. And another thing that Colonel Schaefer made a comment to, and as an NCO, I have to agree with him 100%. Nothing gets done without an NCO.
Right.
You know, in the military, an NCO is the one that gets the things done, regardless of what the general comes on down, all the way down to, once the lieutenant or the captain gives that officer gives that order to that NCO, that's when things actually get done. Am I correct, Bill? Correct. So
100%.
There's going to be a lot more generals being, vamonos. That has to happen, because even though we're, as like it's done in the past, and during peacetime, usually we reduce the amount of military and stuff, personnel, but the military they have increased the number of generals in order to have some upward progression. And that's the question. That is the answer to it, to give those officers upward progression. Like any NCO, we're stuck as NCOs, the highest you could get is E10, and that's the command chief, sergeant, master sergeant, whatever, top dog of the Army, Navy, and Marines. That's the command chief. That's the big guy, of the NCOs. And there's only one position of those per service. So, you still got to look up upward progression all the way to E8, E9. And that's the way that works. But we need this whole thing is going to affect both sides, as to we're going to bring all these things. Man, I wish I could. All these things are coming together. You talked about the task force. all the stuff that's coming out of the SPLs, whatever, whatever LPCL, they just got busted they got announced by Shapiro.
Yeah.
700 million they have taken. The other one, some scams that she was announcing this morning, they took another 700 million money that they confiscated or froze accounts that they've been taking from people, mainly elderly, breaking all these scams. You hear that, oh, if you think Minnesota was bad, wait until you hear what they want to find in California. Okay. So all those things, you can't say that nothing is happening, but what you need to understand and see in order to continue to progress to the next and next step, you have to cut these branches out one by one by one, because that's how they're obtaining their money in order to operate.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. And
I was
and then the thing is that this hydra has so many legs, right, that you have to chop one at a time until you get to the top of the head. And I think what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and just a guess, my opinion, put it that way, that head and that body and everything is going to go down at the same time. My opinion.
Yep. And there's a gentleman that was actually one of the SEALs, I believe, that went to the wreckage for JFK Jr., who is now going to be, was it one of the new admirals at the Pentagon or something? You know which one I'm talking about, Eddie?
No.
Yeah, I do. I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
I've been scrolling through trying to find his name, but his mother and father were in Saigon during Vietnam War and brought him to the States. And that gentleman, I tell you, Hung Kyle, thank you, Marcy.
Yes.
Talk about a patriot, how he communicates, the respect for his family, everything is just so appreciative. And another thing that I talked to a teacher today, and she's starting to notice the amount of children that are being saved all over the nation, the amount of arrests. And she's starting to realize too the amount of years of programming, all of us programming, has also had to take years to deprogram us as well. Yeah. Because if everybody knew, and I say this all the time, if everybody knew all of what the world has done today, if everybody just all of a sudden knew it, we would wake up tomorrow morning to a Mad Max situation. Yeah. So a lot of what, and like what Warren was mentioning, a lot of us in these platforms are traditionally those that look for this information. It's not in the algorithms, and I do believe it may be purposely done via Space Force, perhaps is holding off, keeping some of like our platforms from going mainstream because of the information, So our job hasn't even started yet. Once we see these big arrests or whatever it's going to take to get that shaking for the Great Awakening, that's when our day number one starts. And I agree also, again, from the beginning of the show, Warren saying there might be people quiet right now who actually are ready to rock and roll. And there was a couple of deputies. They feel as though once this happens, I'm going to call it the Great Awakening, if you will. Yeah. The weight of their shoulders is just going to be off. They're going to feel like, oh, thank God. I can be the American I know I deserve to be, and you deserve me to be. I know that my money is going to pay for the things that are for me and not go and get fraudulently spent, you know, in much, much more. And, you know, the medical, the education, just everything. So, again, boys, men, thank you for your time tonight.
Good to
And
see you.
so
Thank you
proud
for
of you
showing
guys.
up.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Bill.
it.
Proud of you guys.
Appreciate it. So just like the before the 2020 election, we had the cabal that brought out Russia, and then suppressed information on the Biden crime family. Well, we are going to do something a little different. Before midterms, I believe they are going to declassify the truth about what has been going on. And it's going to be sickening. It's going to be wonderful for us. That's going to be the time. And I know everybody in talk time, I've probably driven them crazy that at some point there's going to be a time that people are going to come to you saying, where's my friendly neighborhood conspiracy theorist? And in my opinion, that's going to be the time. The people that are asking you questions now are people that are understanding a little bit about what's going on. They've got some of their own information. It might be true. It might be false. And who knows? They're listening to people. They're wakey time, you know. But yeah, there's going to be a time where there will be I'm going to call it, it'll be declassified. Declassification of information. They will be controlling the way it comes out. It'll be right there in front of everybody to see, because what's going to happen is what they're going to see is that we literally have been fighting our own government. So if you want to know who's fighting who, we're out here fighting, trying to do whatever we can. But the senior executive services and the cabal, the SIGI, these people have hijacked the Pentagon is pretty much what's gone on. They have hijacked every avenue of politics, you know. So the conflict is between, let's say, probably NORAD and the SES, you know, which is run by the empire, the freaking major, the Committee of 300, you know. That's who we're fighting. We're going to go, all those people that are in the Pentagon doing bad things, that are in your military doing bad things, they're going to get purged. They're gone. Their history. You're going to just see it. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. That's the big thing that's going to happen. That's going to send people to Gitmo. Now, at the same time, what they've come up with is that the normal citizen, if they are involved in a grand conspiracy against the United States, especially when it has to do with Nuremberg, with crimes against humanity, with elections, when a foreign entity is also in our elections, they can go to Gitmo. So that's what you're going to see. And it's going to be hard for some people. I mean, imagine that happening right before their eyes. And they've been sitting around telling everybody, oh man, you're crazy. You know, you're crazy, all that stuff you're saying. So just know, you're talking about psychological warfare. This is going to be all out. You know, I'm telling you, heads up, people are going to trip out.
And the other thing too is that we're forgetting one other part of the stuff that happened, and that's the Nuremberg 2.0.
Yes, sir.
That's going to come out, and that's going to take all of the pharmaceuticals down. Right. Because if you look at the 10 what is called specifications or whatever, of that, how you could be trial, how you could go against a Nuremberg court, there's 10. They violated all 10 of them. So that's another one that's been brewing since 2019 when the vaccine came out.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what's his name, Renz from Germany, who's
Yeah.
been organizing all of that with other lawyers here in the United States.
And that's across the world. That's not
Yes.
that's
It's
not.
not only here.
Yes, sir.
It's around
Yes,
the
sir.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so just know when you're talking about Gitmo, that's the main thing with Gitmo. And then we know that we feel like some other citizens are going to go down. But at the same time, we have these grand juries going on. So I think now people are going to start talking about the grand juries, the ones in Florida that we believe Pam Bondi has been watching over. And now as her time as watching out after that, and her time as a kind of filler of a seat who might not be the first person you pick on, Trump would pick on his team, but that she'd do her job. And she had never done anything to backstab him like so many have done to Trump. So what they're going to do is we will, between now and then, we're preparing people. We're preparing people for what's going out. They're going to bring out information so that people have a core understanding of, okay, this is why all these people are going to Gitmo. That's why, okay, wow, this is freaking crazy. It's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be cray-cray. But it's because they've got to have you can't just all of a sudden send everybody to Gitmo and all that stuff. People have got to be, they got to understand. Trump is not just the president of us. We call ourselves truthers or patriots or whatever you want to call us all. He's got to be the president of everyone. And then he's doing this globally because he's been doing things globally as much or more than domestically. But domestic is coming right now. So go ahead.
The other thing too is just that, and I mentioned it before in our chats, where you have to, when it comes to investigation, bringing somebody into a case or bringing them up to court, it's slower because everything has to be done the right way. You can't just haphazardly put an indictment together and take it in and arrest this person, and next thing you know, they get kicked out. The case get kicked out under prejudice, and that means that you can't bring the case back, right? You can't charge them with anything. So the thing, you have to dot the I's, cross the T's, and do it the right way. And that's what the boss has said from the get-go. We have to do it the right way. So there's no questions. The good guys, well, we're going to play the good way. Where there's times where the good guys sometimes do. I'm not saying that, but you have to, in order to get all of this taken care of, you have to do it the right way. And like I say all the time, it's coming to that point where let the bodies hit the flow.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. And with that, Warren.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you at a split notice. I really appreciate you coming on.
It's an honor.
Amen. Same for us. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Got it.
All right. Bye. So what I believe is that you will start a little before midterms. You will probably start hearing of people going to Gitmo. I'm going to call it between July 6th and midterms. Those people will end up in there. The process, I believe, will kind of start. Be quick to get people there, but then it will that they defend themselves. They get with their lawyers or build their case and all that stuff. But what Gitmo is a speedy trial. So But to have all that happen, you've got to have a core understanding so that everybody, whether we call them awake or asleep or Democrats or Republicans or whatever, they've got to have a core understanding of what's going on in their world. And it is what it is. But trials will be shorter, and trials would be shorter, but there would be no question that these people did what they did, and it will come out, and some people will understand, some people won't, but the majority will say, wow, okay, they did this, because it's going to be out in the news. It's going to be out. They're doing that because we don't want people having a heart attack and saying, what in the world's going on? Also, that would help with, we've always tried, if there's going to be a major problem, we want it to be civil unrest instead of civil war. So then we speed through the trials. Gitmo and military tribunals are known for being a speedy process. But I would say that those arrests, there might be one between now and the 4th of July, maybe two, something like that. But we'll continue like we are, I believe, until then. We'll hear about some indictments. We'll hear about Florida. I think more podcasters will start talking about the stuff that's going on, and because we have it all. Chief Sean Taylor's information is where it needs to go. Mitch Vexler's information is where it needs to go. Peter Santilli's information is where it needs to go. Patrick Byrne, Martine Rodil. Martine Rodil, it'd be cool, or it'd be a trip if he might have had a little talk with Trump just lately. I don't know. Maybe we'll see, because Martine will end up coming back on when it's time for him to come back on, and he will choose that this time when he has the information that Washington has done what we think is going to happen. So this anniversary of the Constitution, of the ending of let's see, the 26th, May 26th, prayer day and all that stuff. A lot of big things are happening. And in my opinion, when Trump goes, unlike any other president, and reads from the Bible, he is saying, hey, everybody, you might ought to think about getting the Lord in your life, because you're going to need him. And you might as well start now, because if you don't start now, you're going to start then, because it's not going to be necessarily a fun time. But all that is going to lead to a new day, a reset of some kind. And I believe that's what we're dedicating to, as far as the World's Fair event, whatever is going on there on the 4th of July. And it's the start of the Jubilee. And I believe it's the start of hearing about taxes maybe being unleashed or gotten rid of. I can see some raises coming for some people. Now, I'm not saying on the 5th or on the 6th, but that's the start. The narrative might have to be built. We might have to go through some things. So in my opinion, this is when you're lean and you're taking care of yourself and you're learning what's going on, because we're going to be going from dark to light. All right. This is from dark to light. This is out with the funky and in with the new good stuff. Being more Christ-like, throwing a big old can of Act Right on ourselves. When we talk about Gitmo, they are in the process, in my opinion, of vetting people that will represent different channels as far as being at the Gitmo operation. And Matt will be there, and that's where he will be. He'll be on here at 6 o'clock Central, whatever time it is at your place. And he did invite me. He said, hey, you can come see me. I was okay, great. I'll go to Gitmo and hang out. Well, might as well. That's going to be a trip. And PPN's going to be involved in this and get to, put our 2 cents in there and work. And I'm excited about that, because the people that I hang around with, I know that we're in it to get the right information. We're in it to work. We're in it to do our fair share, whether that is sitting on the couch and making a phone call or learning information or telling somebody how to heal themselves or sharing a cookbook. I don't care what you're freaking doing, just good things. We're going to see a lot. Just be prepared. You might be watching some people, that do this, or Tucker, or people. Is Tucker and Alex Jones and all these top tier podcasters, or whatever you want to call them, have they turned, or is this part of the plan? Is this look over here at what they're talking about instead of what's going on over here? We've seen that many times. Keep an open mind. And if you don't know, don't worry about it. If there's nothing you can do about it and you don't know necessarily, then give it your best guess. And what's it going to matter to you? It just is what it is. But the problem is a lot of the upper echelon podcasters, you're going to find out have been bought and paid for. And you're going to find that some have just, been sellouts. And you're going to find that some are not sellouts. They just don't necessarily know what's going on. And every war has been fought using propaganda of some kind. Every war. This one is major. And we've been going through it for a long time. All right. Give yourself a break, but also hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable to what you believe. And are you making the right decisions? Or you don't have to. You get to do what you want to. But in my opinion, what I'm going to try to do with my life is I'm going to try to get the right information. And I'm going to try to share it the best I can. Not for me, but for the movement. That's what it's my duty. If I've come on this crazy thing that I'm doing, I got to be wanting to tell the truth, searching it out the best I can. And I don't know if it's part of a job, but I'm going to keep people up. I'm going to tell them the bad thing that's coming. I think I've said some crazy things that are coming. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you the good things and the bad things. And I'm going to love saying that we did this and that we're doing this, because I'm going to guarantee you, I can't do it alone. I cannot do it alone. Everyone that listens and pays attention and has anything, the mods, the jobs that these people have done is just, it's appreciated, because we cannot do this without help. And watch out what you're listening to. Watch out. There are people out there that do not know that they are spreading the cabal's truth. They don't understand. People don't understand it. And it's just, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But great things, because we understand what's going on, because we are prepared for it the best we can, because we love the Lord, because we're going to introduce people to the Lord, because that's part of our job, and maybe our biggest job. So, in my opinion, I think that would be the best thing to do. Get closer to the Lord, share the Lord's message with anybody you see, and act right. So 1, 2, 3, go. Let's do that. Thanks for joining. Come hang out with us at join.patriotshoot.com. We'd love for you to come see us, hang out with us. If you do, check out the state groups in Patriot Shoot. Check out the wall and all the information that's being put out there, and come see me in Talk Time. And thank you so much for joining. Have a great evening, and bye.